Hello class, this is Mr. Goyette with National University Academy. Just getting back to you from earlier today. Had some parent and student calls I had to make, so was not able to finish my earlier podcast or webcast to you regarding the World History World War I Unit 1 review. Wanted to prepare you for the exam, so I wanted to go over some of the things that will be on that test and give you some idea of what to anticipate so you can study on just those things that will the standardized test will look for. First and foremost, let's look at the militarism. Some of the questions you'll see regarding militarism. What is the policy of glorifying power and keeping an army prepared for war? As you remember, during World War I, the buildup as these nations began to increase their standing armies and increase their military might and create these alliances that we mentioned earlier, the Triple Alliance and the Triple Entente between Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy, Triple Entente between Russia, France, and I'm letting one slip there for a second, but those agreements and the military buildups led to this militarism within the nations that led to the nationalism that urged the people to try to take more land from other countries. So militarism is the policy of glorifying power and keeping an army prepared for war. The other thing you'll want to note is the Balkan Peninsula. That was the region during this period that was known as the powder keg, as the Balkan Peninsula. Germany during the last decade of the 1800s was led by Kaiser Wilhelm II, and you want to make sure you recall that from our studies. And of course, the Schlieffen Plan, that was the plan. It was a two-pronged or two-front plan, which involved attacking France first, running the length of France, overtaking France, and then attacking Russia. The idea being that Russia would be slow to mobilize, that is, slow to get its troops and supplies together, and therefore Germany would be able to attack France and then come back around and attack Russia. That was called the Schlieffen Plan. S-C-H-L-I-E-F-F-E-N. Schlieffen Plan. Why did Germany and Austria-Hungary, why were they known as the Central Powers? This one's easy to remember. It's not a trick question. Because of their location in the heart of Europe. Pretty easy. You got that one. Which nation's actions caused the United States to fight in World War I? This was Germany. Of course, we go back to the sinking of Lusitania. I forget the exact number, but there were a certain number of American citizens on the Lusitania when the German U-boats hit that ship and sank it. Woodrow Wilson, who won on a platform of being a peaceful president, of being an isolationist, was forced to deal with the issues of World War I and step in and actually have an aggressive, or to fight the war in World War I. Very interesting period because you see Theodore Roosevelt being agitated as he sees Wilson staying out of the fight, and not so much that Theodore Roosevelt was the best example of a warmonger. He wasn't out looking for a fight. He felt that we had a moral cause to be in the fight. And when the Lusitania was hit by the German U-boat, he finally said, okay, you got to get in there, you got to do something, Wilson. So, yes, you'll notice that Woodrow Wilson eventually did include U.S. troops in the fight in World War I, and this was because the German U-boats struck the Lusitania. What did the war become once the participating countries began devoting all of their resources and effort? This is a question that's asking you to think about the concept of total war. Total war is when your society is pulling all of its resources and all of its human, its natural, and its industrial resources into fighting this war. And before that, I mean, if you think about our current war in Iraq, it's not total war for us because we're not worried about being struck in our homes, and we're not all mobilizing and recycling and saving our tin and buying U.S. war bonds on the whole, as you saw during World War II and World War I, where the whole society was moved by the war effort. We have a very detached sense of a lot of our wars now. And there are a couple of reasons for that, which we'll go into later. But this whole idea of total war is that all of your resources in your country, human, industrial, natural, are poured in to fighting the war. Total war. What action on November 11th, 1918 brought World War I to an end? The armistice. Very easy to remember, the armistice. Armistice Day was later changed to, question for you, Veterans or Memorial Day? I'll let you figure that one out. Was Armistice Day replaced by Veterans Day or Armistice Day? Or excuse me, Veterans Day or Memorial Day? Okay, what were the 14 points? Now, Woodrow Wilson was known as the man of peace. He was intellectual in some ways, and he felt that you could create kind of a world order by establishing a League of Nations. Now, today we have the UN. At this time in history, the League of Nations was formed in the post-World War I era, to create a lasting peace among those countries. The 14 points was Woodrow Wilson's patchwork of ways to say, okay, this is how we keep peace among these countries. The 14 points was a plan for the post-World War world that would maintain the peace. As you know, World War I was often called the war to end all wars, the Great War. It gave it this sense that once we fight this one, how could anyone possibly have anything else to argue about? I mean, this war is horrible. How could we possibly do this again? It's too horrific. The trench warfare is too horrible. There's no way we're going to go back to fighting this type of fight. Well, we obviously, as human beings, have a propensity towards this behavior. So the war to end all wars was not the war to end all wars, and it became World War I, followed by World War II. But the 14 points were a plan for post-World War Europe, or post-World War world to be patched up. Who was forced to assume sole responsibility for the war under the Treaty of Versailles? Germany was basically left with the blame for igniting and starting the war, and all the blame was placed on them in the writing of the Treaty of Versailles. This was not at all a good way to go about it politically, and Woodrow Wilson disagreed with some of the points in the Treaty of Versailles, the heavy-handedness that kind of punished the people, which would lead the people to the desperation that would eventually see in them electing Hitler and starting World War II, because it basically treated the German people as if they were the entire cause of World War I. That's not entirely true. Yes, they were certainly not. They certainly weren't a neutral nation, and they certainly were at the heart of the problem. But the Treaty of Versailles, the way it was written, set the people of Germany at a disadvantage. I'm going to pause here. I'm going to come right back, because on YouTube you have about a 10-minute time span to get in your points. So I'm going to take a break right here, and then I'll come back to you in a sec.